Namaste and Pranam. Gita Dhyanam. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी. Om. O Bhagavad Gita, at which Lord Sri Krishna himself gave an enlightenment to Arjuna and which was included in the Mahabharata by that ancient sage Vyasa. O Bhagavati, the showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of Advaita, non-dualism, comprising of 18 chapters. O my affectionate mother, I meditate upon thee, you destroyer of rebirth. And now, Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Son of Vasudeva and killer of Kansa and Chanur of the demonic qualities, extreme delight of Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, O Jagadguru, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. Now we take up the 14th shlok of the first chapter, Adhyay of the Bhagavad Gita. ततः श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवः पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतुः. What has happened all along in this earlier 13 shlok that we have read? First shlok, Dhritarashtra asking Sanjay, what is happening there on the battleground between my sons and the Pandavas, sons of the Pandu? And Sanjay, with the Divya Drushti, the divine sight given to him by sage Vyasa, who has recorded the Bhagavad Gita, is now narrating the entire happening at Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre. What has happened? It is kind of a repeat telecast that Sanjay is now narrating to Dhritarashtra. And during this course of narration in the next 12 shlokas, that blabbering of Duryodhana, all his nonsensical talk, and then finally in the 12th shloka, Pitamaha Bhishma getting tired of Duryodhana's talk, cutting him short, and giving a lion roar, Singhanad, and blowing his conch. Followed by that, the entire Kaurava army waging the war, declaring the waging of the war against Pandavas by blowing and playing their war instruments. Their war instruments of tabors and kettle drums and cow horns and multitudes of shankha, of conchs. So the war is declared from Kaurava side. And now in the 14th shlok, we see what is happening on Pandava side. And for the first time in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a mention of Sri Krishna. Tataha, then, Shvaitaihi, with white. Shweta is white. Shvaitaihi, with white. Ayaihi, horses. Yukte, yoke. Mahati, magnificent, Sandyane in the chariot, Sthito, seated. Who then seated in the chariot yoked with white horses? Who was there in that chariot yoked with white horses? Madhava Pandava. Madhavaha is Lord Sri Krishna. Pandavaha here is referred to Arjuna because Sri Krishna is Sarathi of Arjuna. Now, five brothers, Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev, they all jointly called as, or individually also, they are called as Pandava. But in this shlok, the reference as Pandava is specifically for Arjuna because Madhava is the Sarathi. In that white horses yoked chariot, which is driven by Madhava, Sri Krishna. So, Arjuna. Madhava, Pandava, Chaiva. Madhava as well as Pandava, the son of Pandu. And Eva also Divya, the divine. Shankho, the conch. The Matuhu means blue. Then seated as Madhava and Pandava were in their magnificent chariot, yoked to white steeds, white horses. They gracefully blew their divine conchs. Hmm. Now, this 14th shlok for the first time makes mention of Lord Sri Krishna. And let us read now the commentary of Swami Bhavanandaji on this shlok. Madhava is one of the 1,000 names attributed to Vishnu, the preserving face of Brahma. Ma is Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity. And Dhva is the groom, the spouse of Lakshmi, that is Vishnu. Vishnu is thus the lord of Lakshmi. Madhava here refers to Sri Krishna, the embodied aspect of Vishnu. The grace of the Lord of Lakshmi has now come upon the Pandava brothers. It indicates that this righteous group will very soon have Vijaya Lakshmi, the victorious form of Lakshmi in this war. In this war at Kurukshetra. The goddess of kingdom bestowed the goddess of victory, Vijaya Lakshmi, the goddess of Lakshmi, and Raja Lakshmi, the goddess of kingdom, which will be bestowed on these Pandavas by the grace of Madhava. Now, that is the meaning why Madhava word, the name of Sri Krishna, is used in the 14th shloka of the Pratham Adhyay as commented by Swami Chittavaనంద. Pandava means the son of Pandu. Like we said, there are all the five sons of Pandu are called as Pandava. Any one of the five brothers may aptly be addressed as Pandava. Here, this appellation applies to Arjuna in particular, specifically to Arjuna, as Arjun is always associated with Sri Krishna. Now, that is even the mythological sages, Nara and Narayana, it is considered being born as Sri Krishna and Arjuna. So the association of Nara Narayana or Sri Krishna Arjuna is always there. So if Madhava is referred to addressing as Sri Krishna, Pandava automatically means he is mentioned for Arjuna. And now, after all the Kauravas also blew their instruments, their war instruments, what happened from the Pandava camp? Sri Krishna and Arjuna, Madhava and Pandava seated in that magnificent chariot with white steeds, with white horses. They also blew their divine chords. Now, the first one to blow conch from Kaurava camp was Pitamaha Bhishma. And from the Pandava camp, it was Madhava, and followed by Arjuna. So, Sri Krishna had mentioned, he had told that in this war I will not use any weapons. So, what he had with him? He just had his Shankha with him. So, to wage the accept the waging of war by Kauravas. Now, even Pandava, they have to reciprocate it. So, from their side, first conch was blown by Sri Krishna himself. And then Arjuna, the Pandava, third Pandava, he also blew his conch after Madhava blew his divine conch. After Sri Krishna blew his divine conch. And it was accepted. Waging of the war by Kauravas was accepted by the Pandavas, and they also reciprocated by blowing the conchs. So that was the 14th shlok. And in the 15th shlok, we will see like Kauravas, they blew so many and played so many instruments. The drums, kettle drums, and the cow horns, the corns, and the trumpets. Now, Pandavas, they also have to follow the same suit. So that we will see in the 15th shlok in our next reading of the Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Shri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swami.